So stories do this interesting thing where you might say they grab your imagination and they kidnap it, dragging it off into this fantastical world where there are heroes and villains and all kinds of other things that make a good story. And then we kind of wake up and stumble back into our mundane lives. And I'm wondering, do you think that the the way that you identify yourself with a hero when you've been dragged into, let's say, an amazing, brilliant performance of a fantastic Shakespeare play, and you stumble back into your life, are you inspired then to be more heroic in mundane ways? For example, by taking out the trash or washing the dishes when you don't really want to do it, but because, it would make someone else happy, which would be in some way a way of going to battle against the dragon in yourself, the evil villain inside yourself. Does that happen? Do you get inspired to be heroic in mundane ways, or do you let the fantasy make you feel heroic enough for a couple hours and then just stumble back into your mundane life and just be just as selfish and unheroic as you ever were? That's an interesting question. I want to think about that. I am actually really curious about that. Um, Love's Labor's Lost is a really brilliant play because it inspires you. It not only makes you laugh uproariously if it's well performed, but it also makes you inspired to be heroic in some really interesting ways. So it's a very typical story. It starts out with these men who really don't want to fall in love because they've seen other people fall in love. They've seen how stupid it makes you look. And they've also seen how it can really hurt your focus on whatever amazing things that you're going to accomplish in life because you get so distracted by worshiping this human being that you're in love with. And so they don't want to fall in love. And they make a pact not to. This is a really common trope, but they can't help falling in love. And Shakespeare shows something that's good about it, which is amazing. He shows that when you fall in love, you become self-conscious and aware of your own flaws and inadequacies, and you can actually go to battle against them. That's what a hero does. And Rosaline does this for Biron when she says, you use your wit, which is this amazing capability, this humor that you have, and you use it to cut people down. So what I want you to do is go to a hospital and make dying people laugh. Spend a year of your life making dying people laugh. And Biron says, that's impossible. You should go look up the line or see the play. The wording that he says is very profound. He says to something along the lines of drawing joy or laughter out of the grip, someone who's in the grip of the jaws of death or in the face of death or something like that. It's impossible. And she says, well, maybe it is, but you need to try. And she's effectively giving him that awareness of his inadequacy and the opportunity to go through a hero's trial to fight and to change, to go against the ultimate enemy, death. And so you could think of it as she's saying, I want you to pick up your sword, your humor, and go fight the dragon, death, and then you can woo the damsel, me. And it's brilliant because it inspires us to be heroic by doing that, by realizing our inadequacies, realizing the ways we use the gifts that we have to tear people down instead of to build them up. So the play is asking, how are you using your words? Are you using them to build people up or tear people down? How can you get called out, essentially, to change how you're using your words? The way Rosalind calls out Biron. But it's also inspiring us to be heroines, wonderful damsels, damsels who have high standards, who hold others to high standards, who lovingly call people out when they're being immature, because when you call someone out for being immature, you're giving them the opportunity to start a hero's journey. It's a really wonderful thing to do for someone. So that's really cool. The play is also asking us, not only are you using your words to build people up or build people down, but are you using your words to try to manipulate reality, which is really easy, the play shows? Or are you using your words to search for the truth or to expose the truth, which the play shows is actually quite hard, quite uncomfortable, and something we don't do naturally, but something we must do, because as we're watching the play, we're just we see all these guys saying so many hypocritical things like, "Oh, I can't believe you fell in love. I can't believe you broke the oath. I would never do that." When of course you know perfectly well that you did, and you're just like laughing and cringing because you're like, I know this is a terrible idea. And yet we do this all the time. So I love this play, and I want to end by just reading out the reasons one more time. It dignifies saying I'm wrong. Saying I'm wrong, saying I was wrong, is something that you have to do if you want to search for the truth. And yet it's really uncomfortable. And the more adamant you were in your wrongness, a la Barone, the more uncomfortable it is. And yet you have to do it. It's the right thing to do. Also, it exposes the foolishness of hypocrisy in a really funny way, but a very true way. It elevates calling people out as something that's dignified and good to do. It mocks the stoic notion that through self-control we can master ourselves. And it also shows how easily we can twist words to our own ends, but also how wrong it is to do that. And it's hilarious.